into that corner of the interfacing, right on the edge of the interfacing, and I grab the matching piece and the matching corner, and I'll make sure the pin goes through the corner of that piece of interfacing. Make sure the two pieces of fabric are going in the correct direction, and then bring the pin back up to the top. And the pin always goes in perpendicular to the seam, so at right angles to the seam. And then I move along to the notch marking that we made when we traced the pattern, and I'll put the pin into the top fabric at the notch and at the edge of the interfacing, and make sure it comes out on the bottom piece at the notch and at the edge of the interfacing, and then bring it back up to the front. And I keep working my way along, doing this at every single notch marking. Pinning accurately is the best way to make sure that you have as little frustration as possible when you're stitching your quilt pieces together. Put a pin in at every notch, bring it back up to the front, make sure they're perpendicular to the seam, to the edge of the fabric. So if you've made lots of notch markings, you might be able to ignore a few if you've got too many. But if you haven't made enough, you might just need to go back and just add an extra pin or two in the gaps. You want it to sit really nicely so it's ready for stitching without hassle. Nearly done. Alright, so that one is ready for stitching. So careful pinning makes the stitching much easier. I'm going to show you the trick to a curved seam. My artworks all have lots of curved seams in them. The trick is snipping. I use my thread scissors and I add a whole lot of little snips in the concave piece, so the one with the cave in it. The tighter the curve, the closer the snips need to be to each other. So I'm not snipping all the way to the interfacing, I'm stopping just short. But what it allows me to do is bend that fabric around so I can pin it to this convex piece. And then we pin it the same way as we would any other seam, starting at one corner, then at the next notch, all the way through to the end.